What's up, everyone? We are set for another big week in the market. Looking at SPY from Friday, it actually had a pretty good day, but we're not in the clear just yet, as we still have some pretty strong resistance overhead, and some areas of the market are actually taking a beating right now. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at some of the best setups going into this week and the most important news you need to know about. Towards the end of the video, we have a $1.4 million trade you won't want to miss. But with that being said, let's get right into it.
Yeah, this week's going to be insane, Mike. We do have some pretty big economic data actually coming up as the week goes on. Towards the end of the week, around Thursday and Friday, we're going to have the GDP numbers coming out Thursday and the PCE index coming out on Friday. So keep your eyes out for that. Should be a pretty big event. But that movement from Friday, Mike, was definitely crazy, like you said. We actually gapped down early on and then started recovering back up to our big resistance around 397 to 400. Honestly, pretty much everywhere from 397, 398, 399, and 400, we saw multiple hits there all throughout the week last week. So I'm really going to be watching the market here as we start to go into this week with a lot of caution, because we did have a lot of bad downwards movement. We had some bad news with Hindenburg and Square on Friday, where we actually, on Wednesday here, and after hours and Thursday morning, where they actually tanked down an insane amount and bounced off a huge support around 56. So I'll be keeping this on watch. Obviously, there was some fraud news with Hindenburg, so keep your eyes out for that if you want to learn more about the situation. But it's not good news for Square. And I don't know, Mike, it was just a bad, bloody day on Friday for a lot of stocks. Like Disney was in the red, AMD was down a lot too. It was just a continued bloodbath from this recent banking situation.
You know it. And there's one group of stocks that is just still acting like a powerhouse, and that is those, I guess you could say, semiconductor stocks like AMD and NVIDIA. NVIDIA especially is just a powerhouse. It's like, over the past couple of months, this stock went from lows of like 108 all the way up to like right where it is now, right around 275. I know a bunch of people are talking and looking at this stock. It's just been like running up so in such like a powerful way, and everyone's like, when is it gonna stop? It's just like non-stop uptrend every single day.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that honestly, this uptrend might be coming to an end here soon, but there's some pretty big levels to still watch for here on NVIDIA, in my opinion. And as we started to actually run back up on Friday, we ran up right into that big resistance level at 268, which we were watching a lot last week for a potential crash to the downside below that. And it never really came until we got that move Friday, where we ended up basing off that 264 support. So I have a lot of levels here marked on the chart, Mike, for people to watch this week, because I feel like if we fall under the key level down here in that low from Friday around like 264, I think that we'll see a pretty extended sell-off back down, especially if the overall market goes back down as well. The SPY is also going to be retesting some major resistance at 397 to 400 also. So it's just like a lot of stocks are starting to retest these resistances as the SPY is, and it definitely worries me if we reject back off to the downside with all this bad news, obviously, with all these banks. Like if we go look at FRC, man, this bank is still sitting around lows. And on Friday, we obviously moved up a little bit, but even like Bank of America was breaking below major support around 2760 last week and falling back off on Thursday. And even JP Morgan was following along. So I don't know, Mike, the banking system, it just seems like it's not really done yet. And I feel like that some of this volatility can still spill into the markets. And I actually saw some pretty big news where it looks like the U.S. authorities, they're saying, are considering expansion of emergency lending facility that could offer banks more support. So I don't know, maybe that'll help the banks this week. But man, FRC seems like a brutal situation. And I see some articles that say like, well, the banking system's getting a little bit better. The deposit drains aren't happening as quickly, but I don't know if FRC goes under, that's going to be a pretty bad situation.
Yeah, we'll see. You mentioned volatility a couple times, and what else goes better with volatility than earnings? So, Tom, what is on the earnings schedule for the week?
Yeah, we have some pretty big ones. Lululemon on Tuesday, Micron on Tuesday, and after hours. Honestly, Tuesday is going to be the big day for me. In the morning, we have Walgreens, Futu, I know it's been a pretty funny stock lately. McCormick is a pretty big dividend stock. I like them for the long term. Palmain Foods has a pretty big dividend as well. They've been pretty decent. Micron, though, is huge, Mike. Big semiconductor stock. Lululemon, a big retailer. So watch out for those. Carnival Cruise Lines is a bit of an outlier there Monday morning, which I'll be watching a lot as well. But besides that, there's just a lot of smaller stocks mixed in through the week. I know some people like SKLZ as well. I don't know, Mike. It's not the biggest week for earnings, but Micron will be probably the biggest one.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I feel like the main earnings event of the week is definitely with Micron on Tuesday after close. Anything to do with like semiconductors or chips or anything like that can be pretty big. And let's say Micron earnings are really bad, that can bring Nvidia down as well. And of course, at the same time, if they're really good, then, we might see a continued run out of Nvidia and AMD and all these other crazy chip stocks.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, MU's had a nice run of its own here over the past couple months, or even the past couple weeks. Since March 15th, this stock ran from 53 all the way up to 61.30 up there, and it's been kind of bouncing multiple times down here around this $48 to $50 support. So I don't know, it seems like it might finally get the breakout that it's been waiting for, but obviously the big thing is going to be those earnings. Besides that, Mike, like we said, the other big events this week are going to be some of these stuff towards the end of the week with the PCE index and stuff like that coming out. And I will say that heat map, if we go to the performance overall last week, was very mixed. We got the banks down, but like we mentioned, some of those tech stocks did pretty well, actually, when you look at a weekly basis.
Yep, no doubt. Well, with that being said, let's get right into some of these setups for the week. Nvidia, I know we just talked about it, but it's definitely one of the top stocks I'm watching, not only for tomorrow, but just the rest of the week. Like I said, it's had a hell of a run over the past couple months, and it's really just been moving in such a powerful way. With that being said, it's kind of overbought, and I don't think that the current news that we have in the market is good enough to sustain this giant run up. So going into this week, I'm definitely eyeing it for a play to the downside. It's been such a powerhouse lately, and it has not been falling without a fight. So, I don't think it's going to be one of those stocks that just dips straight down like, some of these bank stocks. But, when it's overbought, it's just like the rally can only last for so long.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like a natural swing with price action. Whenever stocks get too overextended, eventually sellers start coming in, and then it might trigger some algos to start selling and etc. So hopefully we continue to maybe see some nice resistance bounces here and some movement back off to the downside. I will say my first stock has also been on quite the explosion lately, which is Netflix, of course. Man, Netflix has been exploding the past few days. I know that a lot of these streaming companies, and it's weird, like Meta, Snapchat, even some of those other stocks that deal more with like shorts and stuff have been really exploding with some of the TikTok news too. But if Netflix can break above 332 this week, I'll definitely watch it for a continuation. They've been on quite the uptrend over the past few days, and even over the past like few months, ever since May, they've been really flying back up. So hopefully this recovery continues.
Good stuff. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is NEO to the upside. China stocks have been seeing some decent inflows lately, and there's been some decent price action with them. What's good about China stocks is like they kind of just do whatever they want, especially like in a market where it's kind of choppy and mainly like news driven. It is a good thing to have a group of stocks or commodities or whatever that just kind of move independently. Looking at NIO, it bounced off that $8 support, and I wouldn't be surprised if we like retest 10 somewhat soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, honestly. $10 seems pretty attainable. And with that nice support bounce here, hopefully it gets a nice continued uptrend. And like you said, it's good to see that they don't really follow the S&P 500 or any of the American markets really too much. So that's good to see. Man, I'll say, Mike, I feel kind of bad here. I know this is going to make people a little bit sad, but I'm watching Tesla actually to the downside this week. Man, they just continue to be bouncing off this big $200 resistance. If they end up breaking above 200 this week, sure, I might actually call it to the upside in a video later on in the week. But for Monday, I'm going to watch for a move under this key 186 support. That's a pretty big level, multiple bounces there from the past few weeks. And if we break below there and the market's down too, I think we could see a pretty extended sell-off, just like some of these other plays with NVIDIA, AMD, and etc. Tesla's even been up a lot over the past few months too.
Gotcha. All righty. Well, with that being said, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have Amazon to the downside.
AMZN to the downside here. Go ahead and make them break below 96.50.
All right. With the next one, we have JD, but to the upside.
JD, nice China stock. I will say this one's holding up pretty well here. Make them break above $40.85.
And with the last one, we have Meta, and we need both directions.
META. Yeah, I kind of like this one a lot, Mike. They've been benefiting from some of this TikTok news. If they break up through 208, which is pretty much, they almost triple top there last week, I'll watch for some calls to the upside for a quick scalp. If they end up falling under 205, I'll watch for some puts. I will say, with all the TikTok stuff, I think this could be a pretty big outlier.
All right, yeah, there we go for sure. So you guys heard Tom, we have those levels for Meta in both directions. Any news with it can definitely make it move in a big way. And then make sure not to forget about the JD level to the upside and then the Amazon level to the downside. But Tom, it is now time for the big money trade of the day. We had $1.4 million go into the PENN 30 strike call options that expire on May 19th of 2023. In a simplified version, basically we have someone betting $1.4 million that PENN is set to rise a lot over the next couple months. Penn is they're a pretty big name, and I guess you can say like the gaming / casino industry. They own Barstool, for those of you who don't know, Barstool Sports. So basically, this stock has had a wild ride over the past couple years. It really benefited from COVID, but it's just been like slowly fading down ever since. Over the past couple months, it's been more flat than anything else, and I really wouldn't be surprised if this one does pop up. I think this big money trade definitely has potential, and of course, when you see $1.4 million going into a setup, it's definitely not something to ignore.
Yeah, it's really not. It's not very far away from the money. We're getting these big support bounces. I actually like this a lot, and like you said, they own Barstool Sports, which is that it's a Dave Portnoy's company, who's the pizza guy for everybody who watches those funny pizza reviews. Man, some of those are funny, Mike. And I know he actually owned a lot of Penn shares and was actually pretty upset as they've been falling. But I don't know, man. It does look like a pretty good support bounce. And I honestly like Penn for the long term. Some of these casino stocks do pretty well whenever you look at their long-term charts. They historically have went up pretty well, obviously, since 08, 09. So I don't know. I like them. I think that they could be pretty good to pick up down here at lows, especially around this area. I will say I'm even kind of contemplating shares down here. And if they fall under 25, you could just simply cut them at a very quick $3 loss. I feel like the risk reward right here is insane.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely keep it close on your radar going into not only this week, but over the next couple weeks. It's definitely a very interesting play. And if you guys are actually looking to get big money plays like this every single day before the market closes, definitely check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. Not only will you get access to these $1 million trades every single day, but you'll also get access to our custom bots you won't find anywhere else. We can see over the past couple days that bots have absolutely crushed it. As Tom is highlighting on the screen right now, one of the best plays was actually a SPY put play on Thursday. This thing just exploded up by 106%. It was absolutely crazy. The SPY 395 strike puts were alerted at $377 each, and by the end of the day, they popped all the way up to $777 each. And of course, not every single play pops like this, but overall, our bots do a great job, and they only get smarter and smarter over time. And over the next couple weeks and months, we have some very exciting new updates coming that I think is going to shock a lot of people. So if you guys want to join the program, if you're into short-term trading, definitely check out that first link in the description, in the comments down below. It's awesome for short-term trading, and you can cancel at any time. But with that being said, Tom, I think we're set for a pretty good week. The SPY's at a big level. We have a lot of stocks moving in some very interesting ways, especially these powerhouse chip stocks like NVIDIA and AMD. Do you have any final thoughts before we end the video?
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of huge plays coming up as the week goes on. So make sure to check back in tomorrow and every other night this week. We're going to have some awesome videos lined up for you guys. The SPY is on a crucial trend line. I hope that we continue to bounce back up here. But at the same time, Mike, it's like there's so much volatility to the downside out of so many stocks. It's like hard not to look at a lot of stocks down as well. And, we've been getting very mixed here the past couple weeks. So I don't know. I'm hoping that we pick a more solid direction. It's been very choppy lately, and I'm hoping that we can just, finally get some solid price action coming in here this week.
You know it. And if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. When you subscribe, you'll see our videos recommended to you more often. Last but not least, we want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Brewdog85. We're coming up on your 3-year anniversary in the Stocked Up Discord, and you're still active. So huge shout out to you. Thanks for being an awesome member of the chat. It's awesome to have you in there. And guys, don't forget, if you're into short-term trading, definitely check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. Besides that, let's have an amazing week.